Now, before you start styling a website, you must have a very clear idea of what it is you're trying to achieve. You'll either be given some sort of concept design from your client, or you'll make one up yourself, or you'll use something like a wireframe that gives you all the values you need for the different properties. So here one has been supplied, and what we're going to do is turn this website into this one here. Now, styling a website could be done in a number of different ways. The way we're going to do it is we're going to add an external style sheet. To do that, you must add a line here which has the following tag. It must have link and then rel equals style sheet inside inverted commas, and then href equals the name of your style sheet. And my style sheet is going to be in the same folder, so I don't have to give a folder reference like I did in the images one. Now, to make that file, we're just going to add a new one here. We're going to save as. We're going to put it into the same folder, and it's going to be called layout.css. And there it is. So now we're ready to start changing this thing into that thing. Now you can style the different elements of this website in whatever order you like. The order you use should make sense to you though, so that if you come back to it you can find things easily. This is going to be a particularly short style sheet, so it doesn't really matter here. I like to use the same order as you see on this page. So in other words, I'll go with HTML at the top, then body, then H1, then section, etc. But I'll do that as we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work from the top down here. So where do I get help on this? Well, the best place is just do a Google for CSS and you'll find tutorials at W3 Schools. Yes, so this website has everything you really need on CSS. It goes through how you're supposed to write it out, which is called the syntax. Gives you the naming of the various bits and pieces, like selector, property, and value. It goes through all the properties in normal CSS, plus it has a section on the new CSS3. So we're going to use quite a few things, like in the images. We're going to look at a couple of their examples and then use the coding they have suggested down below. So we'll be referring to this site quite often. If we have a specific problem, we might Google that specific problem and see what the forums have to say. Right, so we'll start with this width. This is the width of the body section. The first thing I type is the selector, which is the name of the tag or element. If it doesn't go blue, then you've probably not used the correct word. Put in a curly bracket, and then I enter twice. You don't have to do that, but it just makes it more readable. Then I indent once, and I'm going to go for this property, which is width. And again, if it doesn't come up blue, it's a slightly lighter blue, then you've probably got the wrong one. I like to have a space there. Again, it's not essential. And then 800px with a semicolon. Now let's save that and then go back to the website, and I'm going to refresh. So you can see that the width has come in from what it was. Now let's go back and see what we have to do. We've got to change the background color to white. Well, it is white, and that one to blue. Okay, what I'm going to do here is first of all change the HTML. Now I'm putting that at the top. Remember, HTML is the big container for the whole page. I'm going to change that background color. And color is spelt the American way. And I'm going to make that steel blue. Now we're just trusting that our client knows that that color is acceptable. If we need to find that, go back to this website and look for colors. And you can see there are heaps of different colors. Let's go to color names. And there are all the color names you can use. Now this website again has all the things to do with color, whether you want to pick them or choose a shade or use the color name or the hex code. So steel blue exists, does it? Let's have a look. There it is there. So we'll go back to our website and we will save on this side and refresh. Okay, so there it is. Now as you can see, the whole thing is blue, so what we've got to do is change this background color to white. So just quickly borrow that. Right, we'll go back to this. You can see what has happened here. This has been centered. Now to center it isn't really that easy a task. What we've got to do is set the margins, both sides. So if we go margin, you can see we can have a margin bottom, top, left, etc. If I just say margin, that's all the margins. I'm going to set that to auto, which means that what it's going to do for me is work out what space there is there, and it's going to automatically make the margin on both sides the same, which is the same as centering it. So I'll save that and refresh. Okay, we're getting there. Now we want a little padding here in the side. The client has been very kind here calling it padding because that's the correct term. It's the gap between your content and the edge of your container. That's your padding. Outside of it is called a margin. So padding is exactly what we want here. Padding of 20 pixels. So padding 20 pixels, and don't forget the semicolon. And we'll go back to this one. There he is. Now the fonts, if we go down to the bottom here, we want the headers to be Georgia and the paragraphs to be Tahoma, if that's how you pronounce it. Well, what we'll do is we will change the font family. You can see it comes up there, so I can just select it. Double click. And we'll change that to Tahoma. Now, let's go back here and look for fonts. WebSafe fonts will be the one to go for. And we'll go down and look for the client wanted Tahoma. Which one is that? Oh, there he is. So we copy that and we stick it in here, followed by a semicolon. Let's go back to our website. First of all, save this and refresh. Yep, that definitely changed. And then the other one was headers. Okay, so the headers we're using H1 and we're using H2. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to add a new selector, H1, but we're going to go comma H2. Now, in other words, this applies to both H1 and H2, and we're going to say font family. Remember, we can double click this. And then we're going to go look for the Georgia serif. And semicolon. Now the reason there's 3 of them here is what happens is it looks for Tahoma on the person's computer. If they haven't got it installed, then it'll go for Geneva. If that isn't installed, then they'll go for any sans serif. And the same with this one. It'll go for Georgia. If that isn't there, it'll just go for a serif font. So those are backup fonts. Now, let's go back to this guy, save this, and refresh that. There we go. Now the other property we must change with regards to font is the color. It must be steel blue for the headers, and it must be this one, 585858, which is a sort of a dark gray for the body text. So we will do that in here. For the body text, we'll just go color. So color actually refers to font color, #585858. And then for these guys, we'll go color and steel blue. Oh, there he is. And semicolon. So we'll save him, go back here and refresh. There it is. So all we have to sort out now are the images and the gaps between the different sections. Yeah, let's first do the gaps between the sections. So I can put section down. Right, so what I've got to do is change the margin. It's not called gap. The margin at the bottom to 40 pixels. So let's do that. Start typing margin and choose bottom. And then we'll go 40 pixels. Save it. Come back here. Yep. Perfect. And lastly, the images. So the images are quite confusing here. Let's just go with it. Now, the image has a very special selector, image. We can put the width quite easily. So width of 170 means that if I now save this and refresh, all the images now go to 170. So there's consistency throughout the website now. Then we're going to go for border. So we'll put the border. Now it's 1 pixel. So you put the width of the border first, or the weight of the border, and then you put the style. So you can have solid or dashed or whatever you want. Have a look at W3 Schools for the various options. And then the color. So the color here, what do they want? Gray. And whether you spell that AY or EY, it's going to work. Let's put the padding. So that'll be between the border and the picture. Let's save that and go back here. Cool, so there's the 1 pixel border, and there's the 5 pixel padding, and then the image. So that looks pretty good, although they want it rounded. To round it, you just add this thing in. So border radius gives it a rounding. Save him. And that's it. So we've taken the concept design and we've turned it into a website. So that's what the website looks like, exactly what the client wanted. There's a lot more we could do. That's enough for 1.2. More to come in task 2.